Hi everyone, it's Tammy with Shabby Fabrics. I am here today with the Door Banner Club for October. How is it October already? I thought it was just summer. So here we are. This is so cute. I just love this pumpkin. A little bit of a patchwork pumpkin with a star in the center. Riley Blake designers have done it again. This is just super cute. I think this one is really my favorite. So there's some kind of tricky piecing in this, and that's what I'm going to go over with you today. There's a partial seam and you're sewing in a circle. So I thought that I would show you that because that's not something that we teach very often here on camera. So let's take a look at just getting our elements ready to go. The first thing I need to do is I need to make 2 half-square triangles. So I'm going to take an A and an H square. I'm going to put them together, and I'm going to use a Creative Grids seam guide because I need to draw a line down the center and then sew a 1/4 inch on either side. Sometimes that's difficult to know where your 1/4 inch is when you're sewing a 1/4 inch away from a line like that. If your foot is not exactly a 1/4 inch, you know, and I'm always one to do it a little bit too narrow, so I'm really scanting that, and then my seams seem to come out. My seam allowance is not a 1/4 inch like it should be. So I love this Creative Grids seam guide. So I'm just going to put a line here, I'm going to spin it around and do that again. So I have lined this up with the points of my square are right here in the center of those grooves. Just like that. So I have a perfect lines to sew on now. So let's go do that. Okay, so we've sewn on our lines. So now I'm going to take a Creative Grids 3.5 by 6.5. What I'm looking for is this perfect 1/4 inch right here. There's a dotted line right here. There's lots of sticky, tacky stuff on the back of this ruler. The gripper, I love that about Creative Grids. So I know it's not going to go anywhere. I'm going to just place that 1/4 inch on one of my lines that I sewed and cut it in half. Let's go ahead and press this. I'm going to go ahead and press to the dark. All right, now I need to square this up to 2.5. The best way to do that is to use a spinning mat, a Creative Grids spinning mat, and a Creative Grids 2.5 inch square ruler. This just fits on here just like that. I'm going to line up the diagonal on the ruler with the diagonal on my half-square triangle, and I'm going to trim all 4 sides. So we're just going to trim, spin the mat, and continue all the way around. Just like that. I have a perfect half-square triangle now. All right, so the next thing I need to do is I need to do sew and flip on this. So I'm going to take my little tiny squares. We're going to put them on the corners like this and like this. Now you're going to sew on the line, but you're going to draw a line corner to corner. And on something this small, this is exactly how I would do this. It's how I did do this actually. Sew on the line and flip them, just like this. So when you press this, I'm pressing both of them to the white. Okay. All right, the other thing you have to make are flower petals. All right, we need some flower petals for our little flowers. The flowers are located right here and right here. So on this one, I've already sewn corner to corner on this. So I just need to trim my 1/4 inch. But I want to show you how I press this because this is going to go together right here in this corner. And I love it when seams nest. That just makes me very happy. I know that it's correct. I know seams are locked in, and I know my points are going to be perfect. To me, that's what's important. So to do that, I know that I've pressed my green. See, this is pressed towards the green. I need to press this toward the gold. All right, so This one has to press toward the gold. This one can press to the white if you like. Press it normal. Okay, but this one, to press it toward the gold, I'm going to turn it over so that the gold is facing me. I'm going to heat that seam up, and now I'm going to flip the gold over, just like that, and press this. I would rather press it like this rather than trying to press it from the back, because I know that I'm not going to take a tuck right here along this little seam allowance, because that's common to do when you're doing that, when you press from the back. I always worry about that. Okay, so now I have my seam allowances are pressed opposite. So now when I go to lock this in, look at that, it fits just perfect. And I would pin that right here, and sew a 1/4 inch. Then I did press this seam open, because that's just going to kind of distribute that bulk on each side of that seam, and it is a perfect match right there. My point is perfect. All right, so let's get to the fun part. So I have taken a flower petal, and I've added a couple of rectangles to it, an EE and a T rectangle to 2 flower petals, and then I have 2 units like this. All right, I'm going to grab my flower center right here. All right, and so the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to start with this. I'm going to just lay these out so you can see how this goes. This is the center. Then this petal is going to go on here like this. This one goes on here like this. This one goes like this. Okay? So you can see how these seams are not just going to fit together in your typical piecing, right? Because this now has to attach to this. Well, this has to go on first, but if you sew this all the way on, you've got a very awkward situation right here. I can't put this together, right? Okay, so let me show you how to manage this. So I'm going to take this square, and we're definitely going to start in the middle, just like this. Now I'm going to sew a 1/4 inch, and I'm just going to use a friction pen to show you where I'm going to stop. I'm going to start here, and I'm going to stop about right here, and I'm going to do a back tack there. I like to do a back tack on that because I'm going to be pulling on that seam when I go to place it with this one. All right, so let me show you how this works. Let's start here, and let's just go. Okay, so I've done a back tack here. So now I need to press this. My instructions are telling me to press this towards the yellow, not towards the orange. I'm actually going to do this just like this. So I am not, the only thing I'm pressing is what I sewed. So you can see that here. See, I didn't press this. I don't want to press this over on this side. I want that left unpressed. All I want to do is attach this right here and press it towards the flower unit, right? It would go up towards the flower unit, just like that. All right, now that I have that attached, now this unit, if I've done this correctly, will fit. Ha, yay. I love it when that works. Okay, now I'm going to attach this one. This seam is a complete seam, so I'm going to sew all the way down. I am going to pin this because I don't want these little seams to come out of here. I don't want this seam that I just sewed to flip because now he's going the wrong way. So I've got to pin him. And I'm going to pin this little sew and flip corner I did. I don't want that to flip either and create more bulk. So I've got 3 pins in that. I think that's adequate. All right, I'm going to go sew corner to corner. Okay, so let's press this, and I'm going to press this toward the piece that I just added. All right, we'll go this way. right over, just like that. Remember, this is just patchwork. There's no points really here. I don't need to worry about pressing seams open. We're just going to press it just like that. Okay, there we go. It's coming together. So now this piece fits perfectly right here at the bottom. So let's put him on. I love it when patchwork all just kind of fits together like it should. All right, we're going to put a pin at the end so those edges stay together. Oh, I might need a few pins in this. This seam allowance is going the opposite direction, so I'm going to pin this one so it doesn't flip. I've got two more that are doing exactly the same thing. Let's pin those. There we go. And I'm going to pin this seam allowance open like this. So now I do have a point that I want to point out. Oh, that's funny. I have a point that I need to point out to you so that we don't sew it. Okay, there is a little triangle right here, this light green triangle. I want to sew right here. It should be 1/4 of an inch up. Right here at the tip of that triangle is where I want to sew that. And that way I know I'm going to hit that point on the other side, on the reverse side of this. All right, so let's go do that. Okay, let's take a look. Oh, see, that point looks really good right there. Okay, so I have this. Let's go ahead and press this towards, again, the piece I just added. Using a wool pressing mat, and that's definitely helping me to get my points and my seams nice and flat. This little Panasonic iron is great. All right, my flower's coming together. All right, now this piece, if I fold this out of the way, you can see this piece fits here exactly. This is the seam that I sew now. So I left a distance here so that I could fold this back out of the way and it wasn't going to get caught in my seam when I did this seam right here. Okay, let's go sew that. And again, you guessed it, I'm going to press toward the piece I just added. So I'm going to heat that seam up, fold this over. Way cool. I love how this comes together. All right, now you see the final seam. I just need to finish that. So I'm going to fold all of this back. I'm going to unpress this a little bit because sometimes this gets pressed too much and you can't get in there again. All right, so you can see how I need to sew to there. So I'm going to do this from this side. Make sure that's not nesting. It's not. Okay. All right, so on this one, you know, I think it's going to be easier to sew it this way. Let's go this direction. Let's do it this way so that I'm sewing. The reason I turn that over, let me explain this. I turn that over because I want to sew into this little dip I have right here. It's kind of like a little cup of fabric going around there. I want to sew into that. I don't want to start inside of that and try to come out. So we're going to sew with this side up and sew into that, not starting in that crevice. All right, again, I have another point I need to watch, so that is a good thing that I have this side up. Here's my point right here. Okay, here we go. Okay, now I am going to do a little back tack here because this is a partial seam and it's not going to be caught again and sewn again. So I need to make sure those threads do not come out. All right, So now I'm just going to continue pressing this seam. We had started pressing it that direction towards the piece that we just added. That's exactly how I'm going to press this now. I'm going to heat that up. I'm going to fold this over. Oh my gosh, look how cute that flower is. Steam that a little so it stays where I want it. There we go. All right, so we have our flower. Make 2 of those. Then when you do your rickrack border, or your scallop border, she calls it, at the bottom, this is a clever way to do a little scallop border. I wanted to show you how I press these seams. Remember how we pressed our seams here? One goes one way, one goes the other, so those will nest. I did exactly the same thing on these so that these seams are all going to nest. You can see how I did that. I pressed these seams open, and that way all of my points are perfect. It's definitely the easy way to do it. And then the rest of it, the pumpkin is just patchwork with some sew and flip stars in the center, and then assemble with your borders. I hope you picked up some tips on the easy way to piece that. Sometimes it's a little bit confusing when you have to do a partial seam. Just remember to do your back tacks and you will be just fine. Thank you for joining me, and I will see you next time on a Shabby Fabrics tutorial.